I said it too.
Just the one that for the construction engineering. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The council meeting. It's the first time I heard somebody say good have something back to me. Thank you. So at this time, we're going to start out with a special finance committee agenda meeting. where we, oh,
County council.
no, I'm sorry. Keep me straight. We're gonna start out with our regular county council meeting for a couple of items, and then we'll suspend it, and then we'll go back to our finance committee.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And then we'll do public hearing after that. So let us all stand. I'm going to ask Reverend Middleton to lead us in prayer. And I'm going to ask Miles Beadle to come forward, and you can stand right there and lead us in the pledge. Okay? Right at that mic right over here if you want to. After he's done praying for us, then I'm going to let you lead us in the pledge, okay? All right. Reverend Middleton.
Let us pray. Eternal God, we bless your holy name, and we thank you once again just for the ability to come into these sacred chambers just to do the business and the will of the people of Charleston County. We come now asking, God, your blessing upon our chairman and these council persons, and we ask, Heavenly Father, that you continue to strengthen our administrator and the entire county staff. We ask, God, that you continue to give us a mind to always be justice-oriented and doing those things that are righteous and those things that are good and those things that would benefit all of the people of Charleston County. We ask your blessing upon our first responders. We ask that you look upon our EMS workers, those who are on the front lines in the sheriff's department, those who are in war-torn countries. We pray for Ukraine tonight. And we ask you, God, to give them peace. Let there be peace on earth, and certainly let there be peace in Ukraine. We now pray, God, that as we hopefully turn the page on this coronavirus pandemic, you keep us ever more vigilant to be safe and to be mindful of our fellow human being. And then, God, we thank you for all of these proceedings that will take place tonight. Let them be done in decency and in order. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Brother Miles.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brother Miles. All righty, so now, if you get this in front of me, we are going to do our Freedom of Information Act, Madam Clerk.
In compliance with the Freedom of Information Act, notice of meeting was posted and agendas were distributed to news media and persons requesting notification.
Okay, now, second is the minutes of February 1st and 15th, 2022. Is there a motion?
Second.
Okay, any deletion, additions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
just one word of commendation, and I know I say this every time, or at least try to get it in every time, but I'm even the more appreciative of the clerk and her staff for wanting to always make certain that the records, the minutes are accurate. These become historical documents, and they are extremely professional and intentional and deliberate in their work. So I wanted to say that again, and I don't say commendations just lightly, because they are really doing a great work for our county.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now we move to item number 3, which is 3A, recognition and resolutions. Miles Beadle. Okay. Is there a move for,
Recognition, but I'll take the lead on this one.
okay, Ms. Honeycutt, would you?
Miles, in your
Ms.
family?
Honeycutt, would
And
you
then
give
if-
him this to
Yeah.
take with this coin to?
I will grab that.
This
And
child-
Mackenzie,
yeah.
is Mackenzie, yeah, you wanna bring her?
Since it's a safety issue, we're gonna give him one of our public safety things, yes, okay. All right, come right on up, you and your family members, your mother and your father, if they want to, come right on up. And come right through here.
Okay.
Is your mother coming up?
Yeah, they can
Come on.
Do y'all want to record it?
They want to stay over there. This is
All right,
Mackenzie.
we,
She works
we are
for us.
honoring Miles tonight because he did a very mature thing. He reached out to the county when his road needed to be paved, and his road is getting paved next month. And so we want to recognize him with this letter from myself and the chairman. He lives in my district. And at this young age, you have displayed commendable concern for the safety of the people who live in your neighborhood. Your letter identified an issue and provided reasons the road it needed to be fixed. You displayed patience while Charleston County staff evaluated the road and allocated funding after determining it met the criteria for paving. Thank you in advance for continuing to be patient as we get this project scheduled. We hope you feel proud of your accomplishment when you see what the paving crews do on your street. So thank you all so much for honoring Miles. From our Public Works Department, you've seen her, and she has got some things to do.
So we got a bunch of Public Works goodies. Thank you and encourage you.
Yeah, there's a child, there's a coffee, that's for you, okay? Thank you, you're welcome. Keep up the good work.
Mr. Chairman, do we normally give them an opportunity to just say something? I know he said thank you, but
And-
it was at his
and what
formal
school does-
opportunity.
And what school does he attend?
Miles,
Miles?
would you like to have a word?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so now we are going to suspend our county council meeting, and then we're going to go into our special finance committee meeting, where we have, let's see how many items we have here. We have 2 items, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 2 items on the agenda. The first is 1A, indefinite delivery contract, construction engineering and inspection services to public works projects on as-needed basis. What is the pleasure? And talking to staff, they had,
Move for staff recommendation.
any discussion?
Did we ever receive clarification on the questions that you
Yes,
asked?
sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
very well.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Okay. So do we want to do the executive session now, or we want to wait till the David County meeting?
You can probably wait till the end of the meeting.
Yeah, so that way we won't hold the people up, okay? We will do that at the end of the meeting. Okay, so now we're going into our public hearing. Okay, we have, let's see, 2. Ms. Salisbury.
Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, regarding an ordinance approving and authorizing the grant of a utility easement to the Commissioners of Public Works of the City of Charleston on a portion of county properties located at the intersection of Rivers and McMillan Avenue.
Any speakers signed up? Any council members? All right, next.
Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing before final approval of an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and between Charleston County and Mediterranean Shipping Company.
Any speakers? All right, any council members? Okay, that concludes our public hearing. So now we're going to go into public comments, where we allow the citizens who signed up,
Bless you.
set aside 30 minutes, and we let up to 15 people speak 2 minutes apiece. And we ask that you give us your name and your address. Ms.
We do have
Worsler?
15 people signed up. The
Okay.
first person is Ed Sutton, followed by Luann Rosenwig, and then George Temple.
All right, if you will come up in that order, please. All right, sir.
Awesome. How you doing? My name is Ed Sutton, and I'm here to speak in support of the Build a Better Northbridge project.
Give me your address for the record, sir.
13 Leicester Road, and I'm in Councilman Moody's district. And
Okay.
by the way, I went to the Roper Gala Saturday night, and they did a wonderful tribute to your family and what you guys are doing to raise money for cancer research. So it's very much appreciated.
Thanks, Ed.
Here tonight to speak in support of the Build a Better Northbridge project. I've lived in West Ashley area since 2008, minus some time when I was deployed to Afghanistan. And I was there for the previous iteration when the project kind of stalled out in 2008, and hoping now that 14 years later, we can finally get this thing over the finish line and make it happen. I'm in a very unique position that I live in Park Shore 3, right at the base of the bridge where it's going to touch down. And then my business and my office is in North Charleston on Reynolds Avenue, right on the other side. So I definitely see the benefit from both sides of the river of why this is needed. But one of the things I wanted to talk about real quick is irrational fear, because anytime there's an amazing project like this, there's always a little bit of irrational fear out there in the community. And we saw it when they decided to build or add the pedestrian bridge on the Ravenel Bridge. You know, there was some pushback, oh, do we really need this? And thankfully that happened, and it is probably, I'll say, one of the most endeared pieces of infrastructure in our community. Every time you drive across the Ravenel Bridge, you know, you see 50 to 100 people out there utilizing that. Previously, and this is going back a little bit in time, in 2008 when the project died out, I remember having a conversation with my neighbor, And he was against it. And I said, Bill, why are you against it? And he goes, I don't want people from North Charleston coming over here and stealing my TV on that bridge. And I'm like, really, Bill? Come on, man. You think somebody's going to walk across that bridge, come into your house, steal your TV, and walk back across that bridge? It ain't going to happen, right? So that's what I want to address tonight is irrational fear. I don't think there's a lot of that out there in the community. I've been going to a lot of these meetings, talking to folks with it, but there's always a little bit of anyway,
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Good evening. My name is Luann Rosenzweig. I'm a member of CAJM, and I'm in Councilman Sass's district.
Your physical address for us, please.
Oh, 365 Sugarcane Way, Mount Pleasant. Tonight, I'm not sharing my own housing story. I'm sharing the story of Angela Washington. She could not be here tonight because she works full-time as a hospitality worker, nights, Sunday through Thursday. She lives in Gadsden Green and is a cafeteria worker for the College of Charleston. Councilman Werman, she lives in your district. Oh, Angela says, over the past 20 years, I have worked in the hospitality industry in Charleston. Hospitality workers are the backbone of our country's tourism industry. Without us, you don't have functioning restaurants, you don't have functioning hotels, you don't have functioning retail stores or entertainment businesses. I am a 56-year-old Black female hospitality worker, and I want you to hear me say, I am the norm. Most of my colleagues are women that look like me and are my age. While I am lucky enough to have secure housing that I can afford in Gadsden Green, many of my colleagues travel much further. When you work a shift that ends at 9 or 9:30, you no longer have access to public transportation. Each night, I spend an average of $10 to get home from my work. Other colleagues that live further out spend much more. It's not sustainable for them, and it's only a matter of time before they quit their downtown jobs to find something closer to where they live. So when you establish the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and please notice I said when, because for many of you on council, this move to provide housing to the most vulnerable in our community would be your legacy. I urge you to do so.
Thank you, ma'am.
George Temple, Joy Smith, Terrell Altman.
Good evening.
You can pull it up, George. Let's pull it up. No,
It's all right, it works. My name is George Temple, and I live at 758 Sprague Street on James Island. I'm here as a member of the Charleston Area Justice Ministry, and Council Member Honeycutt is my council member. I'm here representing 40 congregations in the Charleston Area Justice Ministry. We want to acknowledge that you are the first group of county council members to actually take some real steps toward making housing affordable. We applaud the council members who are consistently voting in favor of creating more affordable housing. We also recognize that you must preserve the current affordable housing stock that we have, and you have taken steps to do that. Thank you. We want to stress the importance of showing the community before the vote on a referendum that you have a clear process of how more affordable housing will be built and clear guidelines of whom it will be built for. The community wants to see an adopted ordinance that lays out how the trust fund will function. We want to see council prioritize funding the building of affordable housing now through the commitment of ARPA funds and commitment in the upcoming budget. Do these things, we'll see the referendum up for success. To move into the fall without an adopted ordinance, without a trust fund, with funding to get it moving, and without clear guidelines of how that fund will operate and who will operate it, will signal to the community that we are no better positioned than we were 2 years ago. Please take the steps that you are serious about building affordable housing in the way that leverages tax dollars in the best way possible, and that is through a trust fund. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Joy Smith, and I live at 2804 Hartnett Boulevard, Isle of Palms. Mr. Swears, you're my council member. Thank you. On April 4th at 7 p.m. in the new North Charleston Football Stadium on Montague Avenue, over 2,700 community members will gather together to address serious problems in our community, from education to healthcare to housing and flooding. This community comes together to share with public officials the problems that are impacting our lives, and we bring solutions to address those problems. This year's theme for that public meeting is Do Right. You can see some of us sporting our t-shirts here tonight. We hope that as our community members get their t-shirts, you start to see the number of people across this county that are putting aside religious differences, political differences, cultural differences, in order to come together and do right. That's all we ask of y'all. Do right. Each of you received an invitation to this meeting back in January. Tonight, we ask again that each of you attend this meeting to hear directly from your community. We are willing to meet with any of you to lay out the problems that will be highlighted at this meeting and to share what is being asked of whom. Housing is a priority that night and will continue to be so as many as our communities still suffer. We ask that you join us on April 4th to respond to that suffering and make a public commitment that you will support the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Thank you.
You?
Terrell, Jonathan Williamson, Jerry Moore.
All right, first of all, thank you for the opportunity for me to be here and to spend 2 minutes of my time and your time with me. Thank you. Okay, my name is Terrell Altman. I live in Newberry, but I have a piece of property at 8120 Bing Hill Road. And my concern is zoning. I want to come from Newberry in my RV to my piece of property. I want to build a house at 8120 Bing Hill Road. And they won't allow me to plug my RV in to my electricity. I asked them, I said, well, if I can't plug my RV in, can I bring a tent? Can I sleep in my tent while I build my house? They told me no, I can't bring a tent. I asked them, I said, well then, what can I do? They said, well, if you have a dwelling there, you can have your RV and you can have your tent. I said, well, if I have a dwelling, I don't need a tent or an RV. Okay? So I'm here concerned about that. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know, but I live in the country. It's not in a subdivision. My closest neighbors are trees. Okay? I just want to be able to come from Newberry to work on my house, and they won't allow me to plug in. I can bring a generator and plug my RV in with a generator, but I can't plug into my electricity with my RV. Or I can't bring a tent. The next thing I asked him, I said, well, since I can't do any of that, me and my wife come from Newberry. I said, well, can I build an outhouse? I know, sounds crazy. I know, but I mean, we have to have somewhere to go.
Could you give this young lady over there your name and a contact number? And I'll have someone contact you about that issue. Okay?
Jonathan Williamson, Jerry Moore.
We can make a special exception if we have to, because it doesn't make any sense.
My name's Jonathan Williamson. I live at 3479 Patman Avenue. Ms. Johnson, good to see you. Mr. Pryor,
Thank
how are
you,
y'all?
sir.
I'm here again, third time, speak on behalf of my neighborhood and several of the residents of Johns Island in the close proximity to Grayson Oaks. Just, our position. You know that we're still standing in complete opposition to the county purchasing this property for the multi-use burn pit, however you want to describe it. I'll make it short and sweet. I appreciate each one of the council members that have reached back out to me and several of the people that, on Johns Island. 2,200 of us, it's a pretty strong number, is in complete opposition to this. So I just wanted to extend my last conversation, and I hope that you vote with your heart. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Sir.
Jonathan Williamson, Jerry Moore, Edith Human.
Jonathan Williamson.
You just went.
Okay, who else?
Jerry Moore.
Jerry Moore.
Hello, my name is Jerry Moore. I live on 3432 Great Egret Drive on Johns Island, St. John's Lake subdivision. I'm here in opposition to the county purchasing the property right off of Main Road to use it for a burn pit and a dirt mine. There's three primary reasons why I'm in opposition to this. That's because of the health of the people on Johns Island and very close to that location. The traffic situation is horrific now. We don't need more trucks coming in, and I'm sure the developers that are putting things in now wouldn't be happy with that burn pit and everything as well. Plus, I heard from the last meeting that we had that that device that you had for burning this refuge would get rid of all the smoke. It won't. I mean, I watched the advertisement and I could see fumes and all coming out. It might not look like smoke, but it's coming out. It doesn't have to travel very far. I personally have chronic bronchitis. There was smoke over there just a couple of days ago. I had to stay in the house. So this particular area that you're talking about is 3/4 of a mile from my house. The traffic, again, is horrific. So I'm in complete opposition to both of those. The burn pit and the dirt mine, which will be carrying dirt to different locations around the county, and will be bringing trash in from different locations around the county. The way it was first proposed was it'll just be from Johns Island. Well, we discovered there's no other burn device like that will be there. So I'm concerned about my health, my subdivision, Main Road. I know it doesn't look great. I mean, it's got a lot of housing that could be upgraded. My particular development, all the houses in there are $300,000 to $400,000 houses. There are a lot more done. Please ask you to not harm Johns Island anymore by bringing this in and bring, especially close to me.
Edith Human, Brandon Patman, Joe Hoddett.
Edith.
All right. Brandon Patman. Oh, there you go.
Understand my last name. Edith Hammond, 4138 Nature View Circle, Johns Island. First of all, thank you very much for not immediately voting for this proposal by the Public Works system, but to take a step back. And thank you for asking them to come and explain to you exactly what they are planning to do. Somehow, I think they should have done that ahead of time. My first reaction was, oh my God, more traffic. I already lived in Gift Plantation when they took the dirt for building Boeing Company. The trucks went down the road at 65 miles an hour. They just about ran over you. Our votes are shared by not only Johns Island, but Wadmala, Seabrook, Kiowa. And the people who live off Bees Ferry Road and all these developments come up River Road, across the Limehouse Bridge in order to get home. So traffic is not something we need. However, that is the least of my concern. I do hope that you have read and paid attention to the many letters that Dr. Fair sent to you, in which she outlined in detail the devastating effects that it would have on our health and our well-being, but not only us here on Johns Island or in the close vicinity. Air blows, water travels, so everybody in Charleston County is affected by it equally in a very detrimental fashion, and I beg of you, please do the human thing and vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brendan Patman. I'm a member of Best Friends of Low Country Transit and also a couple organizations such as Homeless Helpers of Charleston on Facebook and Uplift Charleston. And I'm very concerned also about...
Address, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. My address is 1054 Ananap Boulevard in the Hibben Ferry Complex in Mount Pleasant.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Okay, and I've been working with issues dealing with homelessness and hunger and transit for the past 2 to 2.5 years, and I'm concerned because I know I have a friend who lives in North Charleston who works as a housekeeper for several homeowners in Mount Pleasant, and right now she has to ride a bus, a number 10 or 11, to go downtown to Mary Street and then back up the Ravenel Bridge. I'm thinking it would be nice if there were some route going on I-526, let's say maybe starting at the airport so that people who live in North Charleston could get directly to Daniel Island or Mount Pleasant without having to go through downtown and sometimes wait 30 or 40 minutes at Mary Street. And also so that people who live in Daniel Island or Mount Pleasant could get to the airport for a flight without an expensive Uber or taxi. I've visited other cities such as Ottawa, Canada, where they have a special bus road going from the airport to downtown for buses only, and I would like to see convenient mass transit. I'm also concerned about the lack of availability in the evenings and late at night when people work at night, as the one Cajun lady said, and also to combat drink driving, so that people could take a bus home from the bars without having to pay an Uber or a Lyft or a taxi.
Joe Haddett, Jessica Hubicher, Renee Orth.
Good evening. My name is Joe Hodap. I live at 1964 Ashley River Road in Charleston. It's been a number of years since I've been in front of council, but some of you may remember me. I'm opposed to I-526, so that's out the woods. But most of it, I think, from the survey that was done by the Department of Transportation, I think most of you know the results of that. It was about 51% were not in favor of 526. I want to talk to you a little bit differently from that standpoint and give you a different perspective. That vote was done, meaning the no build vote, was done almost 10 years ago. Some of you may remember doing it. I'd like to ask, first of all, how many of you remember what cell phone you were using almost 10 years ago? And the reason I say that is because I have 2 grandchildren, one 3 and one 5, and they will probably never possess a driver's license similar to what each of us has now. Reason for that is because in 10 years' time, the Tesla 3 will probably seem like an antique given the way technology moves. And the reason I bring that up is because we probably won't be driving. The car will be doing itself. You'll get in it, you'll tell it where you want to go, and it will take you there. So if you start thinking about what we've gone through in the last 2 years with COVID, what's happened? We were home. Things came to us, did they not? We ordered it and it showed up at our door. And that's really the future of where transportation is going. So I think if you consider where we are, where we're going, the $1 billion that we're going to spend on this 8-mile extension is probably never going to be. I'll see you again.
Jessica Hubacher, 4229 Cobble Trot Way. I'm here about the Humbert Road purchase. Thank you for allowing us another opportunity to speak on this. This is the 3rd meeting in these chambers that I've attended about this, and I believe you've seen an incredibly united front from the Johns Island community. We have thousands of signatures and petition against this. My husband and I would live and raise our family just 1 property away from the proposed site. I've heard and understand the specific plans and strategies that have been shown in prior meetings, but the fact of the matter is there is no guarantee to any of us that those will be upheld. They've even changed since the first council meeting less than a month ago. If this land is purchased for this use, we all understand that the specifics and uses can change in the future and have an even more impactful impact on our community. In prior meetings, people have referenced and compared this to the West Ashley landfill, which was created prior to 1990. All of the surrounding neighborhoods were established after 2000, well after the landfill was established. This is not the same situation, and I urge you to consider that as not being a true comparison. This would dramatically impact the quality of life for people in existing communities, myself included, who elected to buy and live there before this was even a thought. In regards to the Asian longhorn beetle issue, I challenge you to push back. The existing landfill is within this boundary, and it even states publicly on their website that they can mulch. The next several years can bring really wonderful and intentional development to our area, or it can scare people away, plummet property values, and hinder positive growth. Those who have a means to do so very well may even consider moving away if quality of life is so deteriorated. I'd encourage you to think about this impact for them, but more importantly, to those who do not have the means or choice to pick up and move, or those who have lived on that land for generations that hope to raise their grandkids and their grandkids there in a safe and clean.
Renee Orth, Denise Fuego, Debbie Mims.
Good evening. My name is Renee Orth, and I live at 12 Riverside Drive in Charleston. I'm going to try to address two topics in my 2 minutes. First of all is transit. I'm here with Best Friends of Low Country Transit to urge you to prioritize the Low Country Rapid Transit line above any road building, any. To do otherwise is to favor the haves over the have-nots and to favor the people who are here now over future generations. Climate crisis is real. And the idea that we're spending the 126 extension probably cost $1 billion if it were to be built is basically cannibalizing our future generations. It is highly unethical. We started this meeting with a prayer to what I could only interpret as a Christian God, which, by the way, I think is highly inappropriate for a government meeting like this. And I would urge you to ask yourself what your Christian God would expect of you as a leader. I am not a Christian, but I have read the Bible, and I can tell you that Jesus would definitely be in favor of public transportation to help people like the housekeepers who are struggling to get to work, who we've heard about this evening, get to their jobs. Prioritizing roads over public transportation is favoring those with cars over those without, and it is actually an example of the invisible but very real systemic institutionalized racism that is deep here in Charleston. Secondly, I want to address the housing shortage. Appendix Q of the International Residential Code, which is for small houses under 400 square feet, has been approved in many jurisdictions, including the entire state of California. If you're serious about actually creating affordable housing, we need small housing. We need housing that people who work $15 an hour jobs can afford, and that means tiny, and that can be done. It can be done in a way that is humanitarian, that is clean.
Good evening. My name is Denise Marie Fugo. I live at 2222 Ashley River Road. I am the executive director for Holy City Treks and Housing for All Mount Pleasant. The world's on fire right now in terms of housing. The number of phone calls we're receiving on homelessness, new homelessness, has increased even over what we started receiving in March of 2020. So I'm here to ask that for both organizations, we want the American Rescue funds that you have available coming to the county to be dedicated for housing. I know we have consultants in place, but we have many organizations in the community that can make this happen. And we need just in a 5-mile area, there's 480 homeless women documented on Remount Road, and there's 200 homeless men and women at the Super Stop on Cosgrove and Rivers. And I'm going to ask, I serve on the CARTA Advisory Committee. One of the best things I ever did was not own a car for 7 years when I was down here. Ride CARTA. Take the 33, the 10, the 11, ride from the airport to the peninsula, go to the Super Stop and sit next to people and ask them, are you food secure? Do you have enough food tonight to eat? Ask them if they have a safe and secure place to sleep, or are they on someone's couch or in someone's tent. We've been feeding soup to the homeless now for over 5 years, but since March it's escalated. I've lost count of the number of encampments we have. I just sat downtown celebrating my daughter's birthday. In less than an hour and a half, 7 homeless men and women. Today, on the phone with Daryl Davis, I parked at Cosgrove and Rivers to do the call. A 60-year-old homeless woman running back and forth across the street. This is not right. Charleston County has the resources to care for all people, and we will provide the housing starting at $36,000 to $236,000. And I was chair of the National Restaurant Association. Provide housing even for minimum wage workers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Debbie Mims, and then the last person is Millicent Middleton.
Evening, my name is Deborah Benadia Mims. I live at 2762 Summer Trees Boulevard on Johns Island.
Would you come a little closer to the mic? Thank you.
And I am in Ms. Johnson's, within her purview. And I'm here tonight to speak in opposition of the purchase of the Humbert Road 95 acres, commonly known as Grayson Oaks. My reasons for this is because there's many unknown effects that we just have no clue what will happen. Residents' health, what will happen to the children at the child care and schools which are within 2 miles, 2.5 miles of this location, restaurants which are within less than a mile of this location, small businesses, farms, both crop farms and livestock, and also damage to the already deteriorating roads. We're spending all these millions of dollars to improve the main road corridor, and then you're going to have a burn pit and a sand pit, and you're going to have all this traffic going up and down the road, and it'll ruin a road that you haven't even got built already. And I just truly believe that there's better use for this property than to have a burn pit. And the sand mine is within 2.5 miles of other sand mines. So that's in violation of the zoning and land use for the county. And that's all I have to say is just please really think this through and do the right thing and vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That concludes. One more. Okay, one more. A little ahead of Michelle. Come right on up. State your name and your address, and you're the last speaker.
Good evening. Millicent Middleton here. On all the...
Address for me?
Yes, 6728 Maybank Highway.
Thank you.
On all of the discussion that has went forth, most of them tie in together. Highway infrastructure is causing incomplete highways, not enough sidewalks, no sidewalks in most of our regions. Then no buses coming in a lot of the regions. People can't get back and forth to getting better jobs, going to better schools, going to food banks. Ain't but so much few of us can do to bring food to a desert area. But more than that, quality of life. And as the lady stated earlier, there's more than enough funds coming in. There's more than enough ways of making sure that public housing to help with the homelessness, even if you build a big building, make sure that they got work so that they can pay for the housing so that we can cut down on some of this. But more than that, we don't want to worsen the quality in the Sea Islands, which I also live. Just like the gentleman said before, I'm asthmatic, and I truly believe that that would bring some serious harm to my lungs. But more than that, fighting countlessly on all of these items for years, and it's not getting any better. We need to come to a common ground of fixing the problem. And I would like to hear some suggestions on what is going to happen to make things better, because I haven't heard it yet. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comments. We now reconvene our county council meeting. We go to item number 4, which is a series of third readings. Ms. Salisbury, item A.
An ordinance amending the Charleston County Comprehensive Plan, map 3.1.18, Main Road Corridor Overlay Zoning District to amend the zoning and future land use designation for a .19 acre portion of the real property located at 3573 Kitford Road, parcel identification number 28300000318 from the Kitford Community Residential Area to the Belvedere Main Commercial Area. Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson? Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
Mr. Schwiers?
Aye.
Mr. Werman? Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
Ordinance passes third reading with 9 ayes. An ordinance amending the Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance Number 1202 as amended, Chapter 5, Overlay and Special Purpose Zoning Districts to change the zoning designation for a .19 acre portion of a property located at 3573 Kitford Road, parcel identification number 28300000318 in the Main Road Corridor Overlay Zoning District from the Kitford Community Residential KCR area to the Belvedere Main Commercial BMC area. Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Mr. Moody? Aye. Mr. Sass?
Aye.
Mr. Schwiers?
Aye.
Mr. Werman? Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
The ordinance passes third reading with 9 ayes.
Item 4C.
An ordinance rezoning the real properties located at 0, 6673, 6681, 6697, and 6707 Bears Bluff Road, parcel identification numbers 1330000, 054, 044, 064, and 043 from the Agricultural Residential AGR Zoning District to the Agricultural Preservation 15 AG 15 Zoning District. Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
Mr. Schwiers?
Aye.
Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
The ordinance passes third reading with 9 ayes.
Item 4D.
An ordinance rezoning the properties located at 0 Bears Bluff Road, parcel identification number 133000056 and 086 from the Agricultural Residential AGR Zoning District to the Agricultural Preservation 15 AG 15 Zoning District. Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Middleton? Mr. Moody? Mr. Sass?
Aye.
Mr. Schwiers?
Aye.
Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
Ordinance passes third reading with 9 ayes.
Item 4E is financial incentives for Mediterranean Shipping Company.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Sullivan.
Okay. An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and between Charleston County and an industry currently known to the county as Project Normandy, now known to the county as Mediterranean Shipping Company, whereby Charleston County will enter into a fee in lieu of taxes arrangement with Mediterranean Shipping Company, providing for payment by Mediterranean Shipping Company of certain fees in lieu of ad valorem taxes, providing for certain special source revenue or infrastructure credits, providing for the allocation of fee in lieu of taxes paid by Mediterranean Shipping Company under the agreement for establishment of multi-county industrial business park and other matters relating thereto. Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson? Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Sass? Mr. Schwiers?
Aye.
Mr. Werman? Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
The ordinance passes third reading with 9 ayes.
Item 4F is CPW utility easement for social service housing.
Okay. An ordinance approving and authorizing the grant of a utility easement to the Commissioners of Public Works for the City of Charleston, South Carolina on portions of county properties identified as tax map parcel numbers 46906000004, 46906000101, 46906000102, 103, and 107, located at the intersection of Rivers Avenue and McMillan Avenue, North Charleston, South Carolina. Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson? Mr. Middleton? Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
Mr. Schwiers?
Aye.
Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
The ordinance passes third reading with 9 ayes.
Okay, we move to item 5A, which is North Bike Pedestrian Improvements Application. What is the pleasure?
Move to approve.
Is there a second? Second by Ms. Johnson. Any discussion?
Question.
Yes, sir. Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Tootin, where are the results from the public comments, heat maps, everything else we're waiting for? I don't see them in our packet. They're not at our table. Where are those summary of public comments?
Councilman Moody, that information would be compiled once public comment period closes, and then it would be provided to council.
We're advancing this without letting public comment period close. Is that what I understand, Mr. Tootin?
Closes in 2 days, sir.
And then we'd have a week or so to wrap up the comments and heat maps and everything?
Roughly.
So.
10 days. 2 weeks.
Okay, we're authorizing staff to move forward before public comment period is ended. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
All right, how many nays? 3 nays, Swears, Honeycutt, and Moody, and Sass. Okay. Item 5B is Milestone Master Agreement Extension. What is the pleasure?
Move for approval items B and C, Mr. Chairman,
All right,
5B
sir.
and C.
Is there seconded by Mr. Sass? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. Okay, item 6A is 95 acres of Humbert Road purchase for public work needed. What is, now this was suspended due to a table. So do we need a new motion, or do we stick with the motion that's always on the floor, which was for denial, right?
That's correct. You
So
stick
we-
with the motion that was on the
All
floor
right,
at
and
the
the motion
time.
on the floor was for denial. Is that correct?
No, it was for approval.
It was for
Move
approval.
for approval.
Yes, sir.
Asking for.
Okay, so they're asking for approval. So if you don't want to approve, you'll have to vote against it, and then somebody can make it, well, if it automatically fails anyway. So the motion on the floor was made by Mr. Moody, and who seconded it?
I don't recall that, I'm sorry.
Was Mr. Sweeters?
Mr. Schwiers made the motion to table, I do
table,
remember
yeah.
The
that.
table, yeah, but who
Right.
made the original motion?
I moved for approval.
For approval,
For
so
staff
anybody know who
recommendation.
seconded for
Staff rec-
discussion?
I don't recall.
Well, that's in the records, okay?
Yes, sir, it's in
So
the
the motion on the floor for approval. Mr. Swears, and then coming down.
I would just like to comment, I actually made the motion to table it. And the reason was I could not support it as presented. I thought there was a chance that perhaps we could make some restrictions, some permanent restrictions, enforceable restrictions on the property, and therefore perhaps it could even be a net positive in the long run. I always think of Greenbelt properties in the long run, and that doesn't mean 2 years, 3 years, that means like forever years. I hope that could happen. That did not happen, so I actually tonight will vote against us purchasing that property. Although I hope it doesn't end up being a missed opportunity where we could have actually taken a challenging situation and made it more positive. But again, without those restrictions in place and enforceable, I cannot support the proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Swears. Anybody else before we take the vote? Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if this is the site. I said at the last committee meeting that the 3 responses of send it to North Charleston because that's where it belongs, send it to the landfill when staff's already told us the landfill's full and has to be replaced in 10 or 15 years or not here. And, I understand where they're coming from. My constituents would say the same thing. I think all of ours would. But wherever this facility goes in northern Charleston County or southern Charleston County, somebody's going to have asthma. And I sympathize with that. Somebody's going to have kids. Somebody's going to not want trucks. So, I hope these folks have got a lot of chainsaws. I don't know what we're going to do if, God forbid, something happens out there and all those trees and everything fall down. But this council's going to have to start making some tough decisions. If it's not this site, it's going to be some other site. Whenever that property is identified, those constituents rightly are going to come in here and advocate as strongly as this group has. So, I don't know what the answer is, but we're going to have some problems if we have a big storm. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Ms. Johnson?
Yes, sir. Thank you. First, I'd like to say that, we've heard from 2,200 citizens that are living in the area where this proposed purchase is and for the burn site. And we've had a lot of comments from those individuals coming in here and telling us how they feel about the proximity of this project to their homes. We've heard about the health and the traffic, and we're really trying to address the traffic on Main Road. So I don't see how we could even consider having something very close to Main Road where we're putting all this money in now trying to deal with the congestion and safety on Main Road. So I still am going to vote against this. I know right now what we have on the table to approve, and I cannot approve this, and I hope that some of you see the same problem that I'm seeing, along with the residents here if they were in your area.
Okay, anybody else before we move on? All right, Ms. Salisbury, call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mr. Darby?
Oh, nay.
Mrs. Honeycutt? No. Ms. Johnson?
No.
Mr. Middleton?
Nay.
Mr. Moody? Aye. Mr. Sass?
Nay.
Mr. Schwiers?
Nay.
Mr. Werman?
Nay.
Mr. Pryor?
No.
Motion fails with a vote
Okay, we
1
move.
to 8.
Thank you. We still got a meeting to finish. Thank you anyway. We hold your applause, please.
Before we move on to that, I wanted to thank Councilwoman Johnson and Ms. Honeycutt. They did a heck of a job advocating for their constituents' positions, especially Ms. Johnson holding public meetings. That's well done. So.
Okay, item 6B is financial incentives for urban electric. What is the pleasure?
Move for approval.
Is there a second? Moving seconded. Any discussion? All in favor signify by, yes, sir.
For Mr. Dykes, this is the third, and I'm fine with this, but this is the third or fourth extension, I guess, we've had with companies with COVID have not been able to meet their goals. I get that and I support that, but I guess the question is, a lot of these guys are not even really pro rata close to it. So in 3 years or whenever we've extended this to, what happens if these companies are not where they need to be?
They're held to the clawbacks.
Okay.
You're giving them a little bit longer lifeline, but they're still subject to what the agreement says.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Item 6C, EMS and the Edisto project.
Move
EMS.
approval.
Second. Second by Reverend Middleton, moved by Ms. Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. Item 6D.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, second by Ms. Johnson. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. Thank you, Madam Treasurer, and thank you for the kind note that was left in my box. Okay, thank you so much. Item 6E, indefinite delivery
For
contract.
committee recommendation.
Is that a move and seconded by Mr. Sass? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Item 6F.
Is executive session.
Executive session, and so I'm gonna move the council comments right now. Before we go into executive session, let these good staff people go home. Mr. Werman, to my left.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A lot of important votes tonight, and, thank everyone for being engaged on that, and certainly, thank Mr. Middleton for the thoughts towards the people of Ukraine, which I know is on everyone's mind tonight.
Yes.
Looking through some of our agenda items and some of the items here today, we're starting to get into this period of ARPA. I would ask, and we sort of touched on this last week, that it might be good if staff could put together a little bit of a cheat sheet. I think I can compile it all sort of together between what was in our packet last night and some of the materials we've gotten recently as to where we are currently. We've approved some for certain categories, we've approved some for certain projects. Would certainly be nice if, whenever as we're kind of dealing with more of these requests coming forward, if we can kind of reorient ourselves each time, because again, it is something that kind of was sequenced with multiple votes, and I think there's sort of different pieces in different places. So that would be lovely if we could get staff to do that. I don't know if that's
Mr. Administrator, could you have them create a spreadsheet for council members, and you can email it to them, or you can bring it back at the next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, you good, Mr. Werman?
That would be lovely, yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Moody?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to circle back to the Northbridge project. As I mentioned last week, there's a lot about this project to be excited about. the east-facing route for recreation, the views, the connectivity. I went through a great litany last week about how you could leave the North Bridge and go all the way around to Main Road. That's pretty cool stuff. The west ramp to me is a pet project. I don't support that. You know, when this thing first started, I think that was its own road, and I think if we could have gone just to the right, we might have had a very strong showing on this. One concern I've got is I was on a call with Councilman Shade, City Councilman Shade this weekend, and a constituent had mentioned that given where those paths go, that their fears people will still use that bridge because they may not want to walk out to the access points, and that would be very troubling. As I voted against that tonight, my vote tonight was because, as I asked the administrator, public comment period is not over, and that west route. Those are my problems. As the administrator just acknowledged, we don't have the data. If you're going to run a comment period, as silly as I sometimes think some of those are, then let it run and let it finish. So, you know, we don't know who's going to maintain this road. We don't know what the city of Charleston is going to kick in, what the city of North Charleston is going to kick in. My guess would be they hope zero. Maybe they're considering something. I hope they are. What's privately funded, what the maintenance cost looks like. You know, I think if we had just let this process play out and let the comments come back, you might have had a 7-2 vote or an 8-1 or maybe even a 9-0 vote. And boy, would that have been an endorsement of this thing. Instead, you got a 5-4 vote, and you sent a chilling effect to a lot of constituents that maybe this council had its mind made up before, that they didn't care what the public comments were going to be. We were moving forward, and that's pretty chilling. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Sass.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All good comments, Mr. Moody, and I agree about that North Bridge project. There were a lot of good things about it. I was concerned about how we were going to pay for it and who was going to maintain it. Those kind of items, those concern me greatly, and we don't have that answer. I am concerned. I voted nay on the Johns Island purchase, and I don't think that was the right place for that item to be there. But I would like to point out that we are in the area where we get destruction and hurricanes and a lot of debris. And a lot of us have never experienced a Hugo, where maybe you don't get to go home to your house for 3 or 4 weeks, or there's no power in your neighborhood. And so we do, our public works and our emergency management people need to consider to locate properties, places where we can take care of debris, so we can take care of public safety, so people can get in and out of their neighborhoods. Because when trees fall down in your yard, everybody drags them out to the street, and then all of a sudden you can't get down the street. And emergency vehicles and EMS and fire trucks need to get down those streets. And so this is something that we've got to work on. This is something we got to work on. It's very important. And I just want to say I'm in favor of us trying to figure out some way to alleviate this problem in the future. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Ms. Johnson.
Yes, sir. Thank you. As we talk about affordable housing, the county has already done several measures towards improving affordable housing.
Yes, we have.
Such as the purchases of those 18 houses that we have made to help the Charleston County Housing Authority, and also the hotel for women and others to be able to share in housing arrangements there, and a few others. Of course, I don't want to forget that we already have Mr. Davis here, and we have a contract as well. So all those things take time in the process. I have said before that we need to look at income, because all of what we're talking about doing, you have to look at land, and you have to look at labor costs and materials. And then we got to look at who's going to be able to make some kind of payment, because all these things are not free. Somebody got to do some payment of dollars somewhere. So I'd like for the county, I want to challenge our council members here to think about, all those jobs that we have on fill. I think it would be so great if we could look at how to come up with a training program of some sort, like the old CEDAR program or the on-the-job training program. Something that would help to raise the income level of people who are trying to buy a home here. We can't pay for the whole house. I mean, we can't pay $300,000 for a home for somebody. But if they have a job where they can help put in some money, and we put in some, then we should be able to keep some young people here, because we don't want everybody to be old here. That means we're dying out. But we want to attract our young people to stay here. And they've got to have good paying jobs. You know, I always ask when we have these fee in lieu of taxes, and Mr. Dykes, you know how I feel about that. I don't want us to bring people, jobs here that's low paying jobs, and the people can't even afford to stay here. So we have to look at raising incomes in Charleston County. And a good place to start to me is right with the county. Now, I know some people might say, oh, no. But either we're going to work on trying to raise the income, or we're going to be without workers. Thank you, sir.
All right, Ms. Honeycutt?
Yes, tagging on to the affordable housing theme, we have our Affordable Housing Steering Committee applications are out. I think they end this week, right? Does it close out the 4th? And so I would encourage everybody who wants to be a part of that process to please apply. Our consultant and our team working on this are doing incredible work, and I think we're going to see great strides even in the next 6 months. So I'm really proud of the work y'all are doing. Thank you.
Mr. Darby?
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Swears?
No, thank you.
Reverend Middleton?
Yes, today is March 1st, and today I would like to just celebrate all of the women in our county and the significant contributions that they're making, not only to our county and our state and in our lives. We have our county attorney, the first female county attorney in Charleston County. We have our county council persons, Ms. Johnson, Ms. Honeycutt, Ms. Johnson, the vice chairperson, first African-American vice chairperson of county council, our clerk staff, all of our deputy county administrators, and those persons who may serve in county government on all levels, making a significant impact at the dawn or beginning of this Women's History Month. I would just like to celebrate all of them. And secondly, tomorrow begins Lent. I am unabashedly a Christian, and certainly I don't make any apologies for that, and I don't feel like I need to be, apologetic for it, but tomorrow marks the beginning of the Lenten season, and it is a period of self-reflection and introspection that is not reserved for the Christian religion or faith. It is a period of sacrifice and service. And so as we push into these 40 days and begin to really look deeply within, my prayer is that we all are able to decrease and become more aware of the humanity of all of the persons around us and be a better neighbor to those who are our neighbors, and be a better friend to those who are our friends, and be better brothers and sisters to all of those who are literally our brothers and sisters in humanity. And so thank you very much to all the women who are making a significant impact. And as we go into these next 40 days, I pray that we come out of it different.
Okay. Mr. Tootin?
Nothing, sir.
Ms. Ham? No, sir. Okay, just a couple of quick notes, and then we're going to go in executive session. I don't know if that gentleman has left yet, but I'd like to thank him, the gentleman, I think he's a constituent of yours, Mr. Moody, that talked about the fair factor.
Mr. Sutton, right here.
Mr. Sutton, he is right.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of time when people don't want things, they use fear to intimidate others. And so, sir, I applaud you for what you said, truth, speaking truth to power. And, secondly, most people don't want things until it's built, and then when it's built, they'll be the first one to use it. It was just like 526. I remember one day we were in there and a lot of people were debating, we didn't want it. And so I asked the question, if you came here, and you live on the island, stand up. And my second question was, if you, drove 526 to get there, continue to stand. They all stayed because they had to use 526 to get here, but also, but they're against, the completion. And so, Mr. Moody, to your point, for a point of clarification, those comments will come in, but remember, we haven't picked, I chose a route, I made a decision. This is only giving staff the authority to fill out an application and send it in. But 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks when all these comments are done and staff brings it back to us, this council will decide which way we want to go, whether we want to go A, B, or C, or 1, 2, or 3, however it's labeled. So that should give you some, a sense of, comfort knowing that the route has not been picked yet, but this is just to give staff an opportunity to send it in, and if it's approved, and if we say, well, we don't want the route, well, we don't get the money. So just wanted to clarify that when you said about the comments will continue, and we will continue to use those comments, but the 9 of us will get to decide which way we go after listening to all the staff compile this comment and make a presentation to us. Just wanted to clear that out. So now we have need for an executive session to discuss a contractual matter for land purchase. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Okay, any discussion before, madam, is that clear enough on executive session, or?
That is correct. It's a contractual matter with regards to a purchase of property.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. If you're not needed in this executive session and you're staff, you can go home.
I have no
Okay,
idea.
because when we come back, we're just gonna adjourn and move forward. Okay? executive session. We received legal advice from our attorney and our administrator on a contractual matter. No action was taken. Meeting adjourned. I'll see you all tomorrow.